Well, welcome back to the fold. We're cold this evening because it's absolutely Baltic outside. Winter has arrived in Dublin. We've absolutely loads to get through. So pop yourself up on the couch there, lie back, because this therapy session is going to be long and it's going to be traumatic.
Mm-hmm. Fast paced.
Oh, it's going to be like end to end, like the match last night, Galatasaray against United. How are you feeling, first of all? How are you?
Good. You know, getting there.
Yeah,
getting through the pain of the cold. It's freezing out here.
Yeah. No, it's Baltic, and it's literally going to get about 100 degrees in here. And I will at some point, I'm sure, take the scarf off.
We're waiting for it.
So there's loads to discuss. I suppose we'll just jump right in. We haven't been on for a couple of weeks, and the reason being is we're bouncing around studio spaces, and we're trying to make the show better. We've had some really incredible guests on. We really appreciate you guys subscribing and liking and listening to the show and sharing with mates, and that's what this is all about, so we really appreciate that. So do keep on listening, and we have a great interview coming up with Dennis Irwin and Clayton Blackmore from a couple of weeks ago as well, which we'll be putting out shortly as well. Champions League.
One place to start the game last night.
Yeah.
3-3.
Look, I have to say, before the game, I was going to say this time yesterday, but it was such an early kickoff, I almost missed the game. I just copped it at the last minute. It was like this time yesterday, or early yesterday, I really felt as if United were on an upward spiral. I thought they needed something like that incredible Garnacho goal to get cracking again. And things seem to be on the up again.
Yeah, the Everton game especially, like the performance maybe wasn't the best, but they scored 3. We've scored 6 goals in the last 2 games.
We can't stop scoring.
We
can't stop conceding either.
That's exactly the problem. It's amazing. 6 goals in 2 games. It's unheard of this year. So that's commendable, apparently, a little bit. But that defense, that goalkeeper.
Yeah. What are they calling them now?
Andre Onana.
Oh no. Right. It's a tricky one. Because we know that goalies in particular, it's a position that you need to be so confident in. I mean, and I don't want to bash him to have a come back and bite us in the arse later in the season, but I wouldn't go so far as to call what Kevin Doyle called him on national television chocolate wrists.
Well, that's not very appropriate.
I would say that he is having a rough time of it. I don't think he's a terrible goalkeeper by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, it looked like he was kicking on for a little bit, after
5
rocky
clean
start.
sheets.
Yeah, rocky start. He was looking to go on the up, and then last night happened, which is almost concerning, because that's always going to be in the back of his mind and the back of our minds. Yeah. That when he's playing well, that's always in him. And as a goalkeeper, you make mistakes. Yeah. But again, not to be too harsh and bashing on the guy, but he's probably the reason we're not going to make it out of the group stage.
Yeah, totally.
I think it was 13, 14 mistakes he's made this year or something like that.
I mean, when you're talking about, I remember at the end of last season, I was like, look, if we're to challenge at all Man City, to get anywhere near them, we'll have to reduce the minutiae, the nuance of our team. Now, look, and I will say, not in any way to make excuses, but we are, and because it's United, it's like we're the most heavily criticised football team in the world, but we have no defence, and our defence seems to get some sort of cohesiveness. Harry Maguire, in fairness,
it's been good.
Our mate who we sold at the start of the podcast, at the first or the second episode of the podcast, he seems to be a player playing for his life, which is great, and I love to see that. And I'd love to see him actively challenging Martinez and Varane, but he's a great squad player, and as long as he accepts that, I think he's good enough to stay at the club, based on the performances that I've seen. But
I think he's been one of the better players in the team in recent weeks.
Yeah,
and fair play to the lad, the abuse he's gotten, over the years. Yeah, to come back, especially being on the brink of being out of the team. Yeah, fair play to him. That's a testament to his character and his mentality. To keep going, to keep playing, and respect Harry.
Yeah, this is the thing. I don't think his personality was ever in question. I think, in terms of like the job characteristics that you needed to do the job in terms of the off the field stuff, I think that was fine. He does all that really well. He's good in the media, and he has been bashed out of it. But I'd just prefer to see Martinez and Varane in there. And
for sure.
And that's just it. Speaking of which, Varane being dropped.
Yeah. One of the surprises of the season, I think.
Yeah, like what is it? Is it because he's injury prone?
I think so. Well, what the reasoning Eric Ten Hag's been given is because Maguire's playing on the right. He doesn't like Varane on the left for some reason. I think that's the line they're going with. It could be deeper than that. We don't know. But
do you think it's because Johnny Pirlo-Evans is in there?
Anyone is droppable when Johnny Pirlo-Evans is around. First name on the team sheet.
When he gets that ball, from 120 yards away.
The defence is shuddering. Both defences.
I just think Varane is like a Rolls Royce of back fours, and I mean that really positively. When he's on form, you just feel a lot safer. He's a lot, even for his age as well. He's a lot quicker than you'd expect him, a player of that age to be, especially in that position. I
think what's the undoing of him is his injuries. The best, as they say, the best ability is availability. The old saying. And like he has been really injury prone, and you can't probably rely on him all that much to get you through a season, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
So maybe he's going a different way of maybe building a team without him in the outlook of next year going forward. That we don't build around him, which is probably a good idea when he's missing 50% of the games.
Yeah, I feel from a bit because he retired from international football to try and elongate his club career. So. Yeah. Look, if it doesn't work,
still top quality, but
yeah. I mean, if he plays well, clearly he'll get back into the team when he does get a shout, because inevitably one of them will get injured.
Yeah.
But back to the goalie situation.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at, when you look at our squad, right, and the new keeper, the Turkish keeper, who I thought might have been a cheeky punt to at least bed him in before these games, because I thought that might have had some sort of psychological effect on Galatasaray in some way. The fact that he's not giving him a run out anywhere is like, it worries me about Ten Hag's. Like, there's an element of kind of, I wouldn't say panic buying, but it's like, why would you buy a player and not try him out in a cup game at least or something?
Well, you have to bet him in, because like Onana's going to be gone for the African Cup of Nations of the winter, so he's going to have to throw someone in.
Yeah.
Will it be Tom Heaton or will it be Binder? But I'm surprised he hasn't got a run out in a cup game at least.
Or a second half or last 20 minutes or something.
Yeah.
I just know Fergie in situations like the Onana thing, I think you'd often see Fergie just pulling off the goalkeeper if it's not working. He just pulled the goalkeeper off and just throw someone else in.
Well, when Anders Lindegaard was starting over David De Gea,
Yeah, teach them a lesson, and I think that...
I think Lindegaard conceded 5 against West Brom, and that was that. De Gea was back in.
Yeah. And I admire that kind of style of management where it's like, you're not working, you're out. If you're not cutting the mustard, you're gone. You're out.
That's how it should be at the top level, at a club like Man United. Like, there shouldn't be any sentimentality when it comes to picking players. I get the human aspect of being a footballer, but when you're operating at that level, look at City, for example. Not to bring up the dirty word, but like the minute one of their starters starts, smallest dip of form, they're out, and there's someone there to take their place, and that's the ruthlessness that should be in all top football clubs.
Yeah, I mean, you look at any other line of work. I mean, particularly when there's matters that are much more important than football. If you're not doing a job, you're gone. You're taken out straight away. I mean, you look at any kind of high-level kind of governmental jobs or anything else. I mean, like, for example, look at the riots without getting into the Dublin riot, without getting into that. I mean, immediately their positions are called into question if they, do not fulfil the job description.
Yeah,
their jobs are on the line.
Yeah, like one of the big examples, I guess, is I know he scored against Everton last week, but like Anthony Martial,
Tony,
what is he still doing here?
It just goes on and on and on. We've said this about 3 times on the podcast.
Yeah, I love him as a person. I love him as a footballer, but well, in a sense that seems like a great dude.
I loved him as a footballer in 2014 for one
exactly.
season.
Yeah. Not now. Like when he came on against Galatasaray, attack died. Just no pressing from the front, no hold up play. Højlund wasn't having the best game, but at least he could still, especially when the spaces opened up towards the end.
Yeah.
The guy running behind the defence, that's what you want. And Martial just doesn't give you that.
Yeah. I mean, look, he's 28 or 29 if it hasn't clicked for him at this point. Not to say that he's useless, he's not. But he did go to Seville and he didn't do a job there either. So,
well, again, he's not useless, but he's not at the level where if we drop Højlund, there shouldn't be a drastic drop in quality.
yeah.
You know, it should be equal, if not better.
Yeah.
You know, that's the talent level we should have at this football club.
At this football club, at this moment in time.
Exactly.
January signings. Let's have a little yap about that. I mean,
None.
Who's out there? Can we buy Harry Kane now? Can we please buy Harry Kane now? Please buy Harry Kane now.
We need, ideally, a centre forward to replace Martial. I don't think it's going to happen. A centre half for sure. You know, and I think a right back.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
Who would is there? I mean, you look at like this is what what I always loved about the old United is they were always open to be proven wrong, and if they seen a player that played really well against them, they'd be in for him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you look at someone like Icardi, there's a bit of a punt. You know,
Yeah.
he's like so aggressively running forward and elbowing people and. You know, he's a little shithead.
Yeah, he is.
Now, I know his better days are probably behind him, but if you're looking at someone as a stopgap, he's someone like that. I mean, it wouldn't be that difficult, I'd imagine, to take Icardi off.
Yeah, or that winger who scored in both games against us. The guy who scored the third goal for Galatasaray.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Whatever his name is.
Yeah. We'll
Fantastic player.
We'll stick it in underneath. Yeah, I mean, immediately you think about who we missed out on.
Mm-hmm. Kim Min-jae.
Yeah.
That's what we missed out on.
I think about Frankie de Jong again comes up. I mean, that just... And look, we've had periods where Casemiro just seemed to be just doing exactly what we wanted all the time, every game. And then you have Amrabat, who I still think is
a bit disappointing, to be completely honest.
Well, in the last 3 or 4 games, but he had 2 or 3 games where he was just like Roy the Rover stuff, just playing every position. And I still do like him. He's starting and not policing, you know, and I think that's what he wants. That's what Ten Hag and what we want him to do is to just fucking shithouse people, police the ball, do simple things well, pass it forward, you know, just, you know, calm everyone down, tranquilo, everyone, relax, and he's just not doing it. So let's hope he comes good. It'll be an interesting one. I mean, if we look at who we let go, I do think that we should have held on to Sabitzer, I think. I don't think he was as terrible as some options that we have at the moment.
I would have kept Fred over Sabitzer, to be honest.
Who?
Fredge.
Fredge was in the hotel dancing and shaking hands with everyone and bringing the masseuse out for a few pints.
Yeah. See, Sabitzer, when he was at United, it was consistently a 6 out of 10 performance. With Fred, at least you could get a 10 out of 10 from time to time.
And you could have a bogey.
He could. You know, and then we'd all forgive him, and then
Samba déjeuner, French.
Yeah, it'd be brilliant.
Yeah, just a little battler. I mean, there's like the resounding thing that just seems to be happening over and over and over again is we don't know how to close out games. Like we score a worldie or we go ahead and then it's just like straight away, no matter who it is. Yeah, they're just straight on top of us, and you know they're going to score. Yeah. And you're looking at it going, how can you make the same mistakes over and over and over again?
Do you think it's probably in the players' heads and they kind of panic, knowing this trend, and the minute they score, it gets into their own heads? Yeah,
there's an anxiety, clearly an anxiety there. Yeah. I don't know what it is. Look, I mean, is it that thing where they're aware they're playing for one of the biggest, they're not, clearly they don't live in that much of a bubble where they don't know what's going on. Of course they do. I mean, clearly Rashford knows what's going on because his form is dipped because of a couple of different reasons. Number one, and it has to be said as well, I mean, I think it's fair to do so, that, you know, his personal life has been a bit up and down. His missus, he broke up with his missus. I think they're back together now, and that's why he seems to be all pointing at his head again. But you know,
the one time in 7 weeks or something.
Well, he didn't when he scored the penalty, in fairness, against Everton. Look, loads of positives in some ways. I mean, Bruno scored a cracker last night.
Wonderful. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and Garnacho was
His goal was fantastic as well.
Yeah,
it was a great finish.
And I love the way he just turns into Ronaldo when he's
celebrates. Yeah, he's a little fanboy, isn't he? And I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's important also as well. I mean, you look at someone like anybody else in the history of football. They don't use other people's celebrations. Like, create your own one.
I think he's been really vocal in his love for Cristiano, and he's probably just living out his boyhood dream of playing on the left wing.
He's like an incel that they placed into the Argentina camp to wind up Messi.
Pretty much, but
did Messi unfollow him when he recently or something on social media?
I don't listen to any of that. But like, he's living his dream, playing left wing for United, just like Ronaldo did. Let's just hope he doesn't take the same route and goes off to Madrid or something.
It's telling that Ten Hag, again, after that amazing goal, like, amazing.
One of the best goals I've ever seen in my life. I didn't even celebrate. Like, when he did that, I didn't even celebrate. I was stunned. Yeah, I just stood there in shock.
Yeah, because it was like 2 minutes in, and I was kind of half like readying myself for the match.
Yeah,
and I was watching it, and I did see it, but it was the same kind of thing. I was like, what the fuck is that? And then you're like,
yeah. It was unbelievable.
And my girlfriend was like, why are you shouting? I was like, you don't get it. It's just, someone scored. And I was like, no, someone just didn't score.
Yeah.
They scored like...
one of the greatest goals probably ever.
Yeah.
I'm known for my exaggeration, but like, that's not an exaggeration. That's...
Yeah, I tend to exaggerate slightly as well. but I will say this, it's... genuinely, I think it's better than Wayne Rooney's one.
Mm-hmm. Well, just it was further away. He was running back away from the goal.
Yeah,
you got to.
Seen it coming, and then he you could see that he was planning it.
Yeah.
Whereas I think there's like with Rooney's one, it was clearly they're both instinctual.
Yeah.
But what I mean is, it's like the best players in the world always seem as if they're controlling the timing of everything.
Yeah.
Well,
that was the crazy thing about it. It looks so controlled.
Yeah, he's kind of like stepping back and then like running back and shifting and then.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Like very lucky to see that in real time. I just wish I was at the game.
Yeah.
I shared a video online of like a fan's perspective slowed down.
Yeah.
And that's the way you'd see it in the crowd. That's
incredible.
why I would have loved to have been there for that.
Yeah.
So there are positives. I mean, there's great positives. Luke Shaw.
Finally.
Oh.
God, we missed him.
Yeah, I mean, like, number one.
Just night and day when he's in the team and when he's not, you know.
Did we just look so solid? Solid.
Yeah.
And just like a safe, chunky pair of manly legs running down the wing going, fuck off to everyone.
But I'm just always, whenever I watch him, I'm astounded by his technical ability. And
he's a big guy. He's a big guy. So you wonder, number one, how he can do that. You know, like he's 6'1", I think.
He's like a bulldozer, and then like you can smack it into his feet. The first touch is brilliant. The way he runs with the ball is brilliant. His crossing, his pass, and everything about it. Technically, is just unbelievable.
He's old United, is what he is.
Yeah. Well, he's an old school. You know, he's an old school fullback in the sense that it's the most direct, fastest way down the wing, and then a good ball in. No ifs and buts about it. You know?
Yeah, he's kind of an old school guy. He can cross the ball, and they're always welcome.
Yeah.
So, look, I suppose we should talk about the Champions League.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much over now.
Like,
I guess the only silver lining is you play a Bayern Munich team that has nothing to play for, apart from Bride. But like even their second string team is fantastic, and I don't think they'll take the risk of being shamed by a defeat in the Champions League.
No,
like even against Copenhagen when they had the draw, it was still a strong team.
Yeah.
But of course, you know, in typical United luck, Copenhagen managed to get a draw, which really puts us in a precarious position. But
I don't think I agreed about the Munich thing. Like they're a proud club and they wouldn't want to lose, and you know they,
especially with their history with this club, you know.
Yeah, well, they invariably know that you know they're gonna probably end up meeting Man City at some point down the road, and Man City just blitzed everyone. And even like you have to say, Man City were a goal or two down the other night, and come back and won.
Did you see they finally set a date for their trial hearing verdict?
We don't talk about our neighbours' activities. But look, I have to say, I feel, look, you know, I'm not, you know, I don't work in law.
But they're cheats.
They're cheating bastards. I feel sorry for Everton. I'll
Yeah.
tell you why, because they're in the middle of making, like, their stadium is, I wouldn't say practically built,
Yeah.
but it's very far down along the way. Yeah, so like Everton, they're a great footballing club,
Mm-hmm.
and if
They've had a rough time over the last few years, and this is just a shit icing on a shit cake, you know?
it's a shit cake.
I just feel really bad for them.
And I mean, look, thing about it is that you don't, even with Man City, I wouldn't like to see them just absolutely walloped and
I would.
No, in a way, because then what will happen is like you want to beat teams. It's like the Juventus thing, if over the years when they were cheating bastards. You didn't. I didn't like Juventus are a great football club, but they were clearly corrupt.
Yeah.
But in a way, it doesn't feel like a fair competition if they're not there.
Mm-hmm.
Although, yes, they should be relegated as a result of that.
Yeah.
Automatically, that goes without saying. But if you're not testing yourself against, see, the thing about it is,
They're not a big club, though.
No, they're not. Man City are. See, the thing about it is, if Man City were just all money, they're not. They're also incredible.
But it's because of all that money.
It is and it isn't.
Sure, it is. You can't argue any other way, you know.
So I'd hate to see them go, because I'd like to see United get good enough to beat them again.
Yeah.
Even at that,
I'm so blatant in my bias, you know. I have no reasoning.
Fuck those guys.
Exactly. That's the only thought in my head. I have no reasoning or, any real reasons why I believe the thing I do. I just want them in the 4th division.
Yeah.
That's all I want.
Well, that would be fair and transparent.
Yeah.
Unlike their business dealings. So look, a couple of different things to talk about as well. The Jim Ratcliffe Glazer thing.
Still not resolved.
I mean,
I think it.
What the fuck is that?
I think it's happening. I think that's pretty much clear. It's just a matter of when rather than if. But like that when is just dragging on and on. Like I think I was reading the other day that it's been 12 months officially since we first heard the news of the sale.
On Sky News.
12 months. And then 12 months later you got the news that finally they've agreed something. And it's still dragging on. Just get it done. You know?
It's just pure greed. I mean,
yeah.
Look, smart businessman would hold on to Man United because they are incredibly valuable. However, nothing's going to change. I think Ratcliffe will bring in some good people. The footballing side of things may change. It's the lesser of two evils, having the Glazers over, Middle Eastern owners. I mean, is there no wealthy Yank or some tech startup guy?
There is. They own United at the moment.
There's no other wealthy Yank who is not a horrible bastard and a series of horrible and who was part of a family of gerbil-looking evil bastards that wheel dogs around in prams.
Yeah. Well, it's not ideal that the Glazers are still there, but I think at least it's like you said, it's not a big change in the grand scheme of things, but I think just changing the football side of things already is a massive improvement. Yeah. I think Sir Jim he has the right intentions, and he's bringing in, hopefully, we don't know who he's bringing in yet, but hopefully the right people. And at least that's one step in a very long marathon, towards the right direction.
Yeah. Look, I think he's a fan, so that's positive. Obviously, it's a legacy thing for him, and you look at his other sporting exploits, he's been moderately successful. Yeah. I think this means more to him. So I think he deserves a shot, but I think my mum had this expression when I was a kid growing up, and it's like, show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are.
Right.
So if he's getting into bed with them, I think it says more about him in terms of who he's dealing with and what he's clearly would do anything to own a stake in Man United, and I admire that. But you need to have a certain amount of morality and integrity.
Well, maybe he sees it as something that he can still do and still benefit the club positively. If I think it became quite apparent that they were never going to sell the whole thing.
Yeah,
and this is probably the best he could do. And he still has, from what he's been saying, really good intentions. And this might be, just the first step, and then hopefully he does take over the full thing eventually, but we'll see.
I hope so, but that's like, getting a mortgage and paying it, over a long period of time, and but you never, like, there's a never sense of that, where when you buy a house, you don't really feel as if it's yours until it's owned, but then it doesn't mean anything because you're old.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of that kind of vibe to it.
Kind of. But the day the Glazers are fully gone, the day we get the news that 100% of their shares have been gone, we will throw an almighty party here at the studios of the Cult of Cantona. Everyone's invited, drinks on us.
Except Man City fans. But there's only 2 in the country, so I don't expect them to turn up. Just looking at the fixtures that are coming up, this may go out, after the Newcastle game.
That's going to be a tough one. That's going to be a very tough one.
Newcastle are giving PSG, a good game of it. Twice in the Champions League.
Yeah, they got robbed, to be fair.
Yeah, they're only getting better.
Yeah.
I think we'll probably get a draw out of that.
You think?
Just a draw, or maybe a 0-0 draw where it's a real kind of shithousery, crap game. Or they'll beat us. I just think United are. I really thought that bicycle kick overhead would be the catalyst to kick us on. I was like, right now we're going. Now the train has left the station now. And Ten Hag seemed to have a different vibe before that game. His presser was really positive, and he's like, no, we're going in the right direction. And there was an earnest quality and an honesty to what he was saying. He seemed as if he really believed that. I could see it in him. But then you have a setback like that. And I haven't said that. We didn't lose. We drew.
Yeah.
It's like...
It was just the context of the draw, It feels like a loss because...
Yeah. And I did think we were going to lose, because that's exactly how it felt. When they were going forward, I was like, oh, God, we're fucked.
Well, you said before we got on here that the minute that first goal went in for Galatasaray, you thought, it's happening again. And it did.
And it did. And, and unfortunately, I can't celebrate or can't enjoy it as much because of that. And that's what eats me. So then we have Chelsea, which should be a handy 3 points after that.
Yeah, easy.
Because Chelsea are just... there's only one club that's playing worse than us in the top 5 or 6, and that's Chelsea.
It's my only source of joy nowadays.
Yeah. And, Bournemouth and then Bayern. Bournemouth, at home, you'd imagine we'll get a result there.
You'd hope so. But over the years, we've always had those games that are supposed to be surefire wins, and either we struggle or we lose. Yeah. And we'll see. I'm positive, the fact that we scored 6 goals in the last 2 games is a good omen. If you can just sort out the back, and continue scoring those goals and just stop conceding those goals. It seems like a very simple theory,
Well, look, Martinez was back in the training ground.
Yeah.
I think he brings, I can't overestimate his importance to the club.
Yeah.
Because he just literally lifted everybody up last season.
Yeah.
And I miss the Karate Kid.
Yeah.
I miss him so bad.
Yeah. For such a short man, he lifts us high, really high.
Oh, he lifts us up on his shoulders, and he makes us paint fences. I just think he's different class, and I think it's unfair to compare him to the likes of Roy Keane, but I feel as if we're in with a shot when he's in the team, even though he makes errors like defenders do.
Yep.
I just feel as if he grabs people by the collar.
Yeah.
And drags them forward like the best players do.
I think the most painful part of the season has been the pause that's been put on our love affair with Lisandro Martinez,
Yeah.
Just the pure joy of seeing that little
Anytime
man
I see him, all I hear is...
Never thought I could love a man as much as I love that little man.
I'm very fond of him.
Yeah.
Please come back soon. He was at the training ground, so I wouldn't imagine he's terribly far away.
Yeah,
I think we'll see him after Christmas at some point.
I love you, you absolute psycho.
Yeah, I'm in love with a psycho. So Bayern at home, that's the only saving grace, I suppose. You'd have to say that we scored 3 against them away, so you'd imagine we'll score.
Yeah.
But
I have a personal vendetta against Bayern Munich because over the summer, I think when we were talking, you asked me who you'd like me for United to sign.
Yeah.
And the 2 names I said were Harry Kane and Kim Min-jae.
Yeah.
And those bastards took both of them.
Yeah. I think that it's a season of bad transfer decisions. I think that the argument of, like, here's the thing, right? I remember when we signed Robin Van Persie years ago. I was like, what is this? It's
not real.
crazy. It's a crazy signing. Like, what? I don't understand it. And he was electric.
Yeah.
And we had him for what, 2-3 seasons?
Yeah.
I think it was only 2 seasons.
I think it was 3 in the end.
3 in the end.
Something like that, yeah.
And he petered out at the end. But
With that one season.
like, why couldn't we have done that with Harry Kane for 2 years?
I think you'd get more out of Harry Kane than that, you know.
Like
The way he plays.
We just look at what he's. Look, I know he's playing in like a Sunday under 17s league over there in Germany. You know, not to be disrespectful to the German league, but you know, they're going out playing teams like they're hammering teams 8 and 9-0, 5-0, every second week.
Yeah.
And Kane is going to score goals, but a goal scorer is a goal scorer. He's a goal scorer.
When he proved it in the Premier League, you know, there's no doubt in him.
Look, and he'll score against anybody.
Yeah.
He's not, and this is the thing. When you're, this will segue nicely to Rashford. You know, we just need someone who just, he doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
He knows his job is to just go and score.
Yeah.
And he'll set people up if it's handy for him to do so. But otherwise, he's just route one. Give me the ball. Give me the ball. Give me the ball.
Yeah.
And I'll put it in the back of the net.
Yeah.
Whereas Rashford is just, and it's all psychology. I mean, when you look at Jadon Sancho and that whole shit show, and he's gone.
Who's that?
Yeah, exactly. He's already gone.
I forgot he was around.
But when you look at players like him, and you look at Rashford, and you go, right, okay. And we talked about his purple patch. Is he just a player that's a purple patch in the last episode? If your head's not right, then you heard about this. You heard about tips that. You heard about tips, the system that they have in Ajax for assessing players. So basically, they do all the normal stuff, fitness tests and everything else, but they do a psych evaluation. So they do they do tests to see if their players are on the spectrum. They do focus tests. And in no way am I saying is it a bad thing that anyone's on the spectrum on any level. I know many people and people close to me are on the spectrum. That's absolutely fine, and we're all on the spectrum to some degree. But what they do is they do many fitness test assessments of all sorts of things, as well as their ability to focus under tight. They don't water torture them or anything. Talk. Is it safe? Is it safe, Marcus? It's so very safe. It's so very safe. It's so very safe. But they test the resiliency of someone's character. Or they want to know if, like, when the shit really hits the fan, what kind of levels of focus they have. And when you look at someone like Jadon Sancho, and I'm going to just hazard a mad guess here and say that someone that stays up till 4 o'clock in the morning playing a computer game when he's training the next morning is hyper focused, which would tell me that he's on the spectrum, you know, and that he has an issue with concentration, where he can, like, you know, be really focused on one thing and then other stuff takes, if it doesn't take absolute precedence, he just switches off. So Ajax seem to be ahead of the play, and I think that Ten Hag is trying to, or as I've mentioned before in another episode, trying to, especially through his agent, get a different type of player in who's focused in the right way. And I think that Marcus clearly was having problems. They seem to have been resolved now. But the problem is, frankly, when Meals on Wheels doesn't deliver, we all go hungry. So how do we?
Well put.
Does he get back? Does he get back to that last season? I don't think he ever does he?
I don't know. I think we've said this before.
I mean, where do we go from here? Like, there's two glaring things. There's the striker thing, right? Striker wise, what do we do? Rasmus
is the way. I fully believe in him. Everything he's shown so far, it's very, very promising. He's very raw. You know, he's nowhere near the finished product, but you can see what's there. You know, the physicality, the pace, the finishing, the hold-up play. You know, it's all there. It's all about refining it now and just improving in all those aspects. And
one thing I seem to like about him is he seems incredibly loyal. In fact, he's trying too hard.
Yeah.
Which I love that about him. It's like, just relax, man. you're gonna get where you want to go.
It probably comes with his age, you know. He's just what is he, 19? Barely 20?
20, I think.
Yeah, and like, you know, you can't blame a kid for being not overwhelmed, but trying very hard to prove himself.
Yeah, he's like the football equivalent of like a Capri Sun bursting in a school bag. You know, it's like, relax, take it easy. You'll get there in the end. She likes you.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. But like the ability's there, and like, you know, once if he does get that, you know, refinedness, if you want to say, or maturity, and then just the ability he has, and he puts it all together, he's going to be an absolute force of a centre forward. He's brilliant. A really big fan.
See, the problem about him is he's almost too good in the sense that his hold-up play is so good that he's kind of doing two roles at once. Yeah. You know, we need a striker off him. And I know Bruno's kind of playing behind him, but we need a striker who's a little bit more like him physically, like a Weghorst that scores, that can hold the ball. No, genuinely, and can hold... That prick. He did us in twice, Ireland twice, with two fucking crackers, one in the arena last week. I was at that game.
Why do you hurt me, Wout?
Wout, don't let it all out. So yeah, he like someone like a Weghorst who scores, or who holds up the ball, and then just let Hoyland just do his thing, you know.
4-4-2. Get someone next to him.
Yeah,
running in behind.
I really believe that they need to. I mean, look, I think Terry Venables obviously died this week, and they said that he was a manager that would change systems, a first English coach that would change systems quite frequently during games, like go from 4-4-2 to a diamond and blah 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 blah. I think that the old ways can sometimes be the best ways, and we need to play someone just behind him and play him off a number 10 and just let him just beast mode it. Yeah, you know. But who to get is like Mark Hughes, if he was available, would be perfect.
Mark Hughes, if he was available, would be perfect for any football team.
He really would, and I think like this is the thing about Hughes' legacy. Like Mark Hughes was an excellent footballer. But Cantona just kind of... If there was no Eric Cantona there, like Mark Hughes would be the Eric Cantona figure at Man United. Defence-wise, what do we...
Kim Min-jae, man.
Give me a Kim. Give me an M.
I'm never going to let this go. God, every time I watch him play, I'm just flabbergasted.
Okay, who can we get that we can actually get?
I don't even know, man. Who's actually out there, like a good centre half who can walk into this team and improve it?
Yeah, please, anybody, if you're available, let us know. I suppose a good way to finish out this episode is to have a chat, just very briefly, and we want to do something longer form about Bobby Charlton. But like Bobby Charlton, obviously, well before our time as United fans, but he was, you know,
but still a big part of us.
Oh yeah, hugely so. I mean, when I was a kid, you know. Like I'm in my 40s, early 40s, so you know he was mentioned alongside George Best and Dennis Law. I mean, like I'm one of 4 boys, and we're all Man United supporters, and my dad. So a huge part of that is Bobby Charlton. So a huge part of me being so obsessive of this is Bobby Charlton's influence.
But just the impact he still had on the club. You know, every time you watched a Man United game over the last years, every single home match, without that, you'd see an image, you know, that cut to Bobby Charlton in the stands every game, and then the commentary, "There's Sir Bobby Charlton," and that's years and years of that.
Yeah, putting aside his incredible career, I mean, he dedicated his whole life as a servant to our football club. Yeah. And that deserves to be absolutely on every level commended. Yeah.
And just the story, you know, surviving the crash, coming back, winning the Champions or the European Cup as it was back then. Yeah. Everything about it just encapsulates everything that makes this one.
I just think it says a lot about his character and that his incredible sense of he was indefatigable. He like considering what he traumatically gone through that and losing all his mates in the plane crash. Yeah. We're talking about someone who, like, if that happened to people now, you would imagine that would affect them much more. Yeah. So it says a lot about his strength of character and his will, his sheer will. He willed
Yeah.
the European Cup into existence.
Yeah.
Him and other people in '68.
Yeah.
And it's incredible to think that he won the the First Division Championship, Premier League now, the FA Cup. Not as many leagues as he should have won. Mainly because of the Munich disaster, and then the '60s Spurs kind of dominated a bit as well. But you have that, and then obviously the FA Cup, and he won the Ballon d'Or, European Cup, and then the World Cup. Imagine that streak. Like that's That's an unbelievable success rate.
Yeah.
At a time when the matches were harder, the balls were heavier, the pitches were soggier.
Yeah.
It's incredible to think that he achieved all of that.
Yeah. And just off the pitch as well, you know, a lot of big names, especially after they pass away, a lot of, you know, not news, but like events are revealed of their character or whatever. Maybe not in the best way, but I've never, not a single time, heard anyone say anything bad about Sir Bobby Charlton. It's always been glowing reviews of his character and what a person he was. And I've never heard anyone have a bad word to say about it.
It's a wonderful thing, and I think that you know, the fact that it's lovely as well that towards the end of his life he got to patch things up with his brother as well. Obviously Jack Charlton plays a huge part in Irish football history, so that's wonderful in that respect as well. And what a beautiful tribute from the club as well, because we often get a lot of things wrong like that. Yeah, and I think we got that pitch perfect right for a change.
Like 2 weeks of tributes,
and I tuned
he
in.
deserves more.
I tuned into every bit of it. You know, it's just a shame that we couldn't name a stand after him now. Yeah, you know, or something like, and you know, just an incredible figure. It seems like a beautiful man, and like a real servant. You have to admire that dedication and just passion and you know, just wonderful footballing spirit. It's gorgeous. I mean, if the players need someone to look up to during this period, just have a look at that man.
Yeah,
he represents everything that Manchester United is about. Yeah. So, thanks a million for listening.
That's that.
Boys and girls, ladies and gents, thanks so much for listening to The Cult of Cantona. Really appreciate your shares, your likes. If you'd like to support the show, there's a couple of ways you can do that. You can get us on buymeacoffee.com/Cult of Cantona, or you can also get us on Spotify through Patreon, I think, now as well. So yeah, throw us €1 or two. Help us keep the electricity on. Yeah. And we have some really, really excellent guests coming in. We'll have some Oisin will be back as well, contributing in the near future. Yeah. And it really means a lot that you are interested in the show and that you're willing to support it. And share it with a friend. Share the show with a pal. You know, your local football team. You know, any Man United fans, supporters clubs, etc., etc. We'll be back for the next show pretty soon. But in the meantime, thanks for listening and take good care.